Welcome to Module 4. We're in the home stretch. Everything we're doing now really does relate to the final project.
In this module,
The main essay emphasis is on the Devil's Advocate paper. This is an essay that cites sources just as the Making a Case paper did, but it forces the issue of coming to terms with the issue or the problem that you've been focusing on now for several weeks. And what it does is it forces you to sort of flip-flop a bit, to go into the oppositional view. The oppositional view is what I call the Devil's Advocate position. So students in this next to last paper end up pretending that the issue is not as complex as it is, and their thesis is on the opposite view. And they ignore the information that they have tended to research and that most of their sources support. So you might want to do that as well. But if you want to bring in some of the real thesis material for your final, that you will also use in your final paper, that's totally up to you. The length is about the same as the Making a Case paper, about 3 to 4 pages. And I want you to do a research question, thesis, and outline page for this paper, just as you have been doing for the other preliminary papers. In the past, as I implied, many students have been able to come to terms with this oppositional issue by doing the Devil's Advocate paper. It was here that they realized that the issue wasn't as black and white as they thought it was. At this point, they realized that they could, in fact, come along and get really good information from at least 2 different schools of thought, and that there was something respectable in the oppositional view that they, in fact, could use to help them make their point later on. In terms of your textbook reading,
in this module,
this is your last push for the last 2 chapters. One chapter is on warrants, and another chapter is on acknowledgments and responses. Most people have a little struggle with the concept of warrants. I think what you need to keep in mind is that warrants get at what basis people have for thinking the way they do. What is the backdrop, or what are the principles behind certain conclusions? That's basically what a warrant is. And sometimes warrants need to be stated explicitly. Other times they are implied and nobody questions them. So this is an opportunity for you to come to terms with whether you in fact do need to be explicit about the warrants associated with your final paper, or whether those warrants are pretty much accepted among most people who read and write and do the kinds of work you're doing. This
module
is an opportunity for you to show me your notes. Essentially, you should have at this point 30 clumps of borrowed information with topical headings and with page numbers and references to sources. So I'll be asking you to submit that to me this
module.
Also, you need to schedule a consultation with me to make sure you're on a good track for your final paper. So whenever you have your research question as it's evolved, your thesis position, your 1-sentence answer to that question as it has evolved during the project, and whenever you have a
point
outline to the second level done for your Essay 5, that's a good moment for you to schedule a consultation with me so that we can look at what you've done up to this point and look at your very last paper. As in other
modules,
your journal entry will be a strengths and weaknesses kind of reflection on what you did in the Devil's Advocate paper, so that'll come at the end of the
module.
Be thinking about posting your draft of your final paper as early as possible so that your peer group can get in there and read your draft and give you some good feedback, and likewise, so you can do the same for them. So
the next module
will be the big push to get your full 10-page paper finished and submitted, and to have a consultation with me.